So I had a friend of mine ask me if he should buy Destiny. And we're talking about Destiny 2. He's saying, the Curse of Osiris is being released on Tuesday, December 5th. At the time of recording this, it is currently Friday, December 1st, and he was asking, should I buy Destiny 2? And I had to think about it. So, if you're wondering if you should buy Destiny 2, my quick answer is no. Now let's go into some controversial things that really aren't controversial. They're kind of 100% fact. Let's say that you go and you buy Destiny 2, the base game, for $60, right? With the Curse of Osiris, you are still going to have access to the base game. However, you will not have access to the new story. You will not have access to the new raid lair. You will not have access to basically anything new. So what are you left with? You have a 4 to 6 hour story and grind. You can do public events, which now give you the same amount of XP, but after 20, after you hit max level, it will be twice as hard for you to level up even further and get bright engrams than it has been for anybody who's played it so far. You will get some quality of life improvements with, more things to spend your legendary shards on that you have not amassed any kind of collection of. You will have more exotics that you have the chance of getting, but won't necessarily be able to get unless you have that new DLC. And you will have the original raid that everyone will basically stop playing. Because, not to say that it will be no longer relevant, it's just that it may be a little bit less relevant when the Curse of Osiris DLC comes out. So, if you wanted to continue with everybody as it is now, you have two options. You have either A, buy the base game and not buy any of the DLC, or buy the base game and the DLC. Now, Destiny came out in September of this year. It is currently, like I said, December 1st, so the game has been out for 3 months, and you want to hop into it. How much are you going to be spending? Well, you're going to be spending $60 for the original game, and you're going to be spending about $25 to $40, depending if you want to get just one DLC or the season pass. So now that you're looking at a cost of about $85 to $100 for a 3-month-old game with we'll call it a 6-hour story if you aren't playing with anybody else, and we're going to say that you get an additional 6 missions afterwards, which is probably going to run you another 2 hours. So you're paying $100 basically for 8 hours of story and a lot of grind. That's before anything else. Now, you do get the next DLC for free if you do get that collector's or you get that season pass. But is it worth it? Well, ultimately, that depends. Are you the type that really likes looter shooters and you don't mind grind and you like the monotony of shooting things over and over and over again for slightly above minimal XP, gaining loot that you may or may not use in the future? Then sure, go ahead, buy it. If you're not really into that, you think it'll take too much time, well, you're right in some senses, and you're wrong in others. Destiny 2's grind is very, very monotonous. I mean, you can do strikes, and you can do more stories, and you can do the adventures, and you'll get some experience, but the most bang for your buck is going to be public events. Public events that run whether you have the new expansion or not. So, now you're going to pay $60 for a leveling experience. And now, the question is, did you play Destiny 1? Because if you did, okay, well, you're kind of late on D2, but, I mean, if you like D1, D2 is basically a slightly better version than D1 vanilla. But I wouldn't say that it's better than Destiny 1 in Year 3. And I'm not just saying that because, oh, Destiny 1 Year 3 had more raids and it also had more things to do. I'm saying that as someone who's put in collectively about 13,000 hours into Destiny 1 by itself. Now that's across 3 different, consoles. Technically, if you wanted to consider it, it's 2. I played Xbox 360, I played Xbox One, and I played on PS4. On Xbox One, I had collected every single exotic. I went through all of the raids, completed all versions, completed all challenges, and felt content. On PS4, I only jumped in at the Taken King, so I had to redo everything. There were certain things that are a little bit harder to get then, so I didn't collect every single exotic on PS4. However, I did do every raid again, because I felt like it was important. Destiny 2 releases. I've pumped in 13,000 hours, right? Let's go. I am so ready for D2. Is that it? Really? That's it? You had such high hopes for the story. And it's 6 hours? How much lore did you learn? None. What new enemy did they set up? The Cabal? The Cabal have been around. We get it. They're Roman-style space rhinos that destroy planets for getting in their way. The Cabal were always seemingly more interesting than we thought. But then they come to our system, attack us, and it takes us a few days in-game time to beat it? Over a few days. The most interesting thing about the story is watching all of the different Vanguard Reps and how they deal with the loss of their power. The 3 Vanguard representatives are Commander Zavala of the Titans, you have Ikora Rey of the Warlocks, and you have Cade 6, who represents the Hunters. Cade 6 is by far the most likable character of the 3. Commander Zavala feels flat and uninspired. Ikora Rey she has her moments, but ultimately, when you meet her, she's depressed, she is sad, and it's almost like watching stages of grief, really. Commander Zavala ponders with the idea, does the light make you a guardian, or do your actions make you a guardian? And it's a very interesting thing to think about for about 4 minutes. But then you go to Nessus, the next planet, to find Cade, who is caught in a trap. And he is in a vengeance mode. He's like, I'm gonna go steal this technology, sneak in behind enemy lines, and I'm gonna cap the big baddie in the head. And maybe make a sandwich. Quote. Now, Ikora, like I said, is depressed. She's scared. She's wondering if there's anything that she could have done to assist or prevent this issue. And there's nothing. And ultimately she finds it rather sad. Now, when all 3 of the Vanguard reps get together, they plan that they're going to attack the strongholds of the city that the Cabal now occupy and take the city back. Ultimately, they fall up slightly short as a plot device. That way you get to go fight the big enemy, Gaul, aka Gary. The Gaul fight takes about 5 to 10 minutes if you're doing it by yourself, or 2 minutes if you're doing it with a friend. There is a hint at some future content. We see a possibility of the actual physical manifestation of the darkness, start to encroach on our solar system after the Traveler sends out a shockwave of energy and light, restoring all the lights to the Guardians, all of their power. We are left with a raid from a character who you know nothing about unless you do one adventure on Nessus called Invitation from the Emperor. His name is Emperor Callus, and he invites you onto his ship as a test. You go through his trials and his tribulations, and you face him. And he invites you on as honored guests. It's very weird walking into his raid stronghold, and none of the enemies attack you when you enter. They're all standing guard. They look at you as you walk past, but they don't attack you unless you attack them. Which to me, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Because it shows that the Cabal aren't just like mindless soldiers. Now they do follow orders, but Callus is very well spoken. The story, you see Gaul and the Counselor, they interchange in some witty banter back and forth, as witty as Cabal can be. But ultimately, it's all for naught. So where does that leave the game? Well, if you like grind, it's great. You're in a great spot. You'll be grinding. If you like PvP, PvP is satisfying. It's not as diverse as Destiny 1. It is only 4v4 rather than 6v6, 3v3, or 2v2. You also don't get to choose your game modes. The only time that you ever get to choose your game mode, technically speaking, would be Trials of the Nine, but even then it's a toss-up between two different modes on the same map, or Iron Banner, which is one game mode that is predetermined on any map. The Iron Banner gear from Season 1 looked okay, but you're not going to have access to that. You'll have access to Season 2 gear. PvP is interesting, to say the least, now that they've made some slight adjustments. For instance, anything that can kill you in one hit is now essentially a heavy weapon. So shotguns, sniper rifles, fusion rifles, linear fusion rifles, swords are back. Since they're all one-hit kills, except for one of the swords, they're all in the heavy slot. So which leaves your primary weapons that you're used to seeing, you like your hand cannons, your pulse rifles, your auto rifles, your scout rifles, your submachine guns, which is a new weapon type in the game. They're all in the primary and secondary slots. The secondary slot has a damage modifier. So for instance, Solar Arc, Void, things like that. There's 3 major walls in the leveling system. The first wall is around 260 light. Once you hit 260 light, you gain access to the Nightfall. And it will be much harder to level up or power up from there unless you keep doing things over and over and over again. But after you pass that wall, the next wall is going to be about 285. The raid opens up to you at 270. After 285, you're going to shoot for max, 305. Now granted, some of this may not apply for the expansion that's going to come out because they are increasing that light level by about 25, I think, so it goes to 330. So your light grind is going to be a little bit harder because now you have to do everything over again from scratch, and everyone else who has already been playing the game is been and done. And we're all working on the new content, which we'll probably tear through in about, I'd say, fair, about 20 hours across all characters in total. That's including story, strikes, and leveling, more than likely. It'll be something like 20 hours. Because hardcore Destiny players will do hardcore Destiny player things. Now, the game is very geared toward casual players now, with guaranteed powerful gear, with powerful gear rewards and luminous engrams, which you get for doing things like the strike or the flashpoints on particular planets that Cade 6 gives you, or doing clan XP. If you're in a clan, you get something from Hawthorne, or completing the Nightfall Strike guarantees you powerful gear when you go turn it in with the ball on. But other than that, you're just going to be grinding a lot. You're going to be doing public events a lot. If you wanted to do strikes, you're more than welcome to do that, but you're not going to get the same kind of experience gain. You're not going to get the same kind of grind. It's going to be a lot more work. So, what does the story, the PvP, and the grind collectively add? If you're a mindless shooting fan, it's great. It's fantastic. I actually really like how all of the guns feel, especially on PC, starting from PS4. But as someone who has gotten all of my characters across both of the platforms I play on, all to max light, and we're 3 months in, and I didn't start on PC till about a month ago. I've been playing this game for a month, and I've already done everything. There's nothing left for me to do. I've already collected everything. So, I'm just waiting for more content to come out. Now, if you get Destiny 2 and the Curse of Osiris and whatever the next one's called, you're going to have a lot of content to go through, and you'll blaze through it in like a day or two. And then you'll be in the same boat as all of us. So, are you willing to spend $100 for 20 hours of content? Now, granted, 20 hours of content, you just paid $5 an hour. And then you have to wait. Unless you just want to keep grinding and grinding and repeatedly grinding and shooting and grinding and grinding and shooting and collecting shitty loot and then finding, purple engrams that you turn in for absolutely nothing, and then you'll get exotic engrams and get a lot of duplicates. They are introducing some quality of life changes, though. For instance, Zur, the Asian of the Nine, who comes in, he sells exotics every week. He sells them on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on a random planet that you have to find, which really isn't that hard because his icon appears in the map. I think it would have been better if it had to be like a scavenger hunt to find him. Almost like it was in Destiny 1, but a little bit harder. In Destiny 1, he just appeared at the social spaces, like the tower or the reef. That'd be the only places that he shows up. But you had to go find him. Ultimately, that took about 2 minutes. But imagine if you put him on a planet, you didn't mark him on the map, and you just said, go and find him. It would be a much more interesting experience. You'd actually feel somewhat rewarded until you saw his inventory and you see a whole bunch of the same. But he does sell faded engrams, or he will when Destiny 2, the Curse of Osiris, comes out, which is guaranteed not a duplicate, which is great. And apparently he's going to be doing it and selling them for Legendary shards, so all of the players who have been playing for basically since release will have all of the exotics the day he shows up. Because we all have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Legendary shards. And it's going to be hard for you. Because every single new Legendary that you get, you'll think about keeping. Because I really like this one. But then you'll get something better that you won't be able to infuse into it because it's not the right type. And then you'll have to keep that. And it'll be this constant battle between, well, do I want to go and get something that I know that I've never had before, or do I want to stick with something that I know and may not use? That will be something you have to consider. Ultimately, the choice is yours. You can spend your money and do it. I mean, I already have. I enjoy it. I enjoy the mindless shooting. That's just me. But as someone who has disposable income, because I'm a single 20-something-year-old who has absolutely nothing better to do, it's no problem for me. I don't really care. But I know not everybody has that luxury. So, is it worth the money? Probably not. I'd say wait till, the second year of Destiny 2. Because they're going to release another expansion. Not the next one, probably the one after that, which will be a bigger expansion, very similar to the Taken King in Destiny 1. And it will include Destiny 1's base game Curse of Osiris, the next DLC, and that one, and they'll probably sell it for about $80. So rather than spending 60, 40, so 100 plus another 40, $140, you could just spend 80 and get everything. Ultimately, I think it's a better decision to hold off. Now, if you're really wanting to see and play Destiny, the best thing I could tell you is watch it on Twitch. Watch it on YouTube. Watch it in different videos of the Destiny community creators on YouTube and other platforms. Trust me, you will get just as much satisfaction from watching it as you will from playing it, because you'll have all the positives of watching it, but you'll have none of the negatives of playing it. So, and before anyone starts to say like, well, how do we really know? Like, I literally wear Destiny shirts all the time. Destiny is my game. I love it. It's my shit. But simultaneously, I have to be real. I'm a filthy internet nerd with nothing better to do. This game is fun for me because I like the mindless activities that it offers. The raid with all of its janky mechanics that the first time you run through it, if you've never done anything, you're not watching anybody, it takes a long time to figure out. But once you know it takes you an hour. Me and my friends literally just ran through the raid, carried people through the raid who had never done it before, and it took us 2 hours. They just said that they're going to add a new raid layer to the raid. So it'll be a new type or a new addition to the raid with different bosses, different mechanics. And they said it will be like a raid. It will still have 6 people, but it will be for those that don't have the time to put in 6 to 7 hours to figure out that raid. It'll be easier. Easier is not what we want. Difficult is good, so long as that is not impossible. We're perfectly fine with difficult content. That's why we do the prestige raid and challenges of the raid. But if you're just adding something for a casual player base, I mean, you're free to do so. But if you're hardcore, you'll burn through it. Now, we're going to have to wait a couple weeks till the actual raid layer is introduced into the game. But I have no doubt that any competent raid team will be able to run through it in a few hours on the first try. And then every try after that, it'll probably take them about 20 to 30 minutes. So, everything I've said, everything that I can take into consideration, I'd probably say to hold off on the raid, or I'll hold off on buying it. Now, one thing that I know that somebody's going to ask is just like, well, what about the lore? The lore of the game is so interesting. It is, and it's not in the game. If you want your grimoire, you still have to go get it. But it's not in the game. So I would tell you, Google Ishtar Collective, or I will tell you to go watch My Name is Bife, or Myelin Games, or another lore channel for Destiny. There's tons of them. I recommend those two because they're the first ones that pop into my head and I respect them deeply. I'm a lore guy myself. I don't mind the mindless activities, I enjoy them, but I like the deeper story behind Destiny because it's such an expansive universe that's not told. It's infuriating to some, like me, who care about lore. For those that don't care about lore, okay, cool. That Osiris guy kind of looks cool. He's wearing an exotic piece of gear, and it looks like he can stop time from what we can see, but that's cool. And apparently he's he was a guardian of note a long time ago. Yeah. For people like me, the lore guy, he is the most powerful guardian of all time. He's the most divisive guardian of all time. He's the guy who actually went into the Vex network. And he came out. He exists in their realm, messes with them whenever he can, and he's still alive. The Vex bend reality to their will. They time travel, they hop different dimensions. And yet he's in their realm, messing with their stuff. For me, That's amazing. So why is none of that in the game? Why can't I reference anything of the Destiny 1 Grimoire in Destiny 2? It doesn't make sense. But this was a decision made by Bungie, I guess because they heard of the backlash from, the Grimoire not being in the game. So they just said, fuck it, we'll remove the Grimoire. No, Bungie, no. Just put it in the game. Don't break immersion. That's all we want. Put the Grimoire back in the game. But don't make it cards that you have to go to the Bungie website to see. Just put them in the game. Make it a codex system. Mass Effect does that really well. Take a play out of their book. It's really not that hard. You can make it however you'd like. You're the company. I'm going to play your game regardless. You already have my money. And I know that you're really good at taking feedback and criticism. And Bungie is a great company. Apparently. I can neither confirm nor deny that. And no matter what rumors that we heard from, Destiny Year 1, where they had a story and then they had to scrap the entire story and then they had to make a new story, which is why it didn't really feel that way, and the story ended on kind of like a weird note, and then everything after that kind of added on to it and made you look stronger and stronger and stronger and gave you this big expansive world and kind of brought you into it. Destiny 2 doesn't remind me of that. But then again, we're also basically I will call this Destiny 2 vanilla. What improvements they'll make for Curse of Osiris is already being written. What improvements that they're going to make in the next DLC is yet to be seen. What improvements they're going to make for the next major expansion is yet to be discussed. So, to bring it back. Do I think you should buy Destiny 2 if you have not already? No. Whether you're a hardcore Destiny player that you had in Year 1, you just haven't bought it yet, or a brand new player who has never played any Destiny before, I would say hold off and save your money. With that being said, it's pretty late, so I'm going to go to sleep, but I hope all of you have an absolutely fantastic day.